Looks like it's live. Oh, we're live.
Cool. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Grooner podcast. And I'm back. Nice to be back again. I'm joined by MJ today. The other three are currently ill, busy, or asleep. So it's just us two today.
How's it
How
going?
is it? I'm not too bad. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's been a while. So it's actually quite exciting to be back. To be fair,
Yeah,
obviously since I've been away, we've been doing quite well.
nice, good stuff.
Yeah, so top of the league by 5 points. But obviously, we have to start somewhere, and we obviously lost at the weekend on Saturday lunchtime against Everton. Stuttered a little bit on Merseyside, and conceded a set piece goal with obviously James Tarkowski scoring. What I didn't understand was why was Odegaard the player covering him at the back post. It didn't really make much sense to me.
Yeah, and if he was to mark the same guys, let's say Tarkowski or another physical player, 100 times, how many of those do you reckon he'll win? I don't think it'd be very many. So that was kind of Odegaard seemed to get quite a bit of criticism around that. He should have done harder, but if you know any lean player or sort of a player that hasn't got a big profile in physical build, they won't tend to win those sort of duels. But I wonder if our centre backs were. I haven't seen the replay back today, but they'd probably be covering the strikers, maybe Onana, because he was quite a huge guy. And then whatever's left for Tarkowski and Connor Cody. But yeah, Odegaard, I don't think he was going to win that duel. He'd be very lucky if he did. But yeah, that's not a really good goal to concede, especially as we had everyone back in the box. We had every single player back. So it was just one ball, one tap, and straight into the net. So it wasn't really great from our side.
Yeah, what I've noticed with our zonal marking is Ben White covers the front post, Saliba and Gabriel cover the centre of the box, and then the attacking midfielder covers the back post for some reason, which is quite baffling to me personally. Surely you'd have your best players on, or your best headers of the ball, targeting their best headers of the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Because the one we conceded before that was Lissandro Martinez for United. So I think that one was probably down to Ramsdale not punching out. But it'll be interesting to see how that compares to this one in terms of the positioning.
Yeah.
But even the Ramsdale bit, it was pretty unlucky. He should have done better with that. And then the Martinez header just looped over. If it was any other direction, that ball doesn't go towards the net, or maybe it does, but it's easier to clear. But it went directly. It was like a perfect loop. It went over and in, and Gabriel has like no chance to sort of direct it away. But yeah.
So it's just one of those things, isn't it? We expected it to be a physical game with Sean Dyche becoming their manager, and obviously they've got a few old Burnley players in their ranks, like McNeil and the like. With the Sean Dyche, he does tend to play a rigid formation of a 4-5-1 or a 4-4-1-1 sort of formation. Is a 4-5-1 low block becoming our kryptonite? Because against Newcastle, they performed it very well. Everton performed it very well. Or do you think it's just our midfield hasn't really come to terms with it yet?
With the 4-5-1, the two times where it's sort of the two times where the performances haven't really been sort of 100% or close to 100% were the two times where we dropped points. And as you say, it's the two times where the team just completely just went deep and just didn't bother even attacking us. I think the difference between the Everton and the Newcastle game is Everton had a bit more of an attacking presence with the three physical guys in the middle of Decore, Onana, and is it Drissa Gay, was it?
Yeah.
I think maybe if other teams are seeing that and they think that's the way to stop us, it may be a problem. And if that is, then we've got to be able to. The way that I see it is Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, that was a pretty good example of where Chelsea did it a couple of times, or another team in the Champions League, or another team that managed to get a point. And the way they sort of tried to get around it is they would always go wide. It doesn't matter what direction, but they would just constantly go side to side because they're trying to move the players around the areas until they're trying to find holes. So eventually, when they could time it right, if it came to Xavi or Iniesta, they would put that ball down the middle into Messi or David Villa or Pedro, whoever it was back in those days. And that's something that I could take away from them, thinking, okay, that team's playing low block. So I wonder if the way to get around that is to just constantly getting the ball from side to side, get them to eventually lose their concentration, because they won't be able to keep that up for 90 minutes long or 45 minutes long or however long that sequence of play is. So I think if Mikel Arteta has seen that and he's aware of it and he knows Brentford are going to try it, perhaps then we've just got to be a bit more composed, because against Everton, we didn't have any composure to even get through it. Against Newcastle, we had a bit more. And I think on another day, if it went on for another 5 minutes, we probably would have found a goal, or that penalty comes our way at the end. And if Jesus is on the pitch, a player like Jesus is someone who could make a chance out of nothing. And I think that's where we probably missed Jesus, is in those two games where out of nothing, he beats three players, opens up space for another player, and then there you go, we're in. So, yeah. What do you think?
I think I think it's a slight issue, because I think Leeds deployed it against us when we played them away from home, and so did Southampton. And we were lucky against Leeds not to drop points. We dropped points to Southampton, dropped points against Newcastle and on Saturday. And I think teams are slowly finding out, since Jesus is not in the team, against Southampton and against Leeds, he was there. He was helping us like on the break and on the attack, where we could kick the ball up to him, and you know he was going to bring it down and do something with it. Whereas Eddie's a slightly different player. He's not individually as good.
No.
And I think Jesus dropped into midfield and helped them out, whereas Eddie didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what Mikel's going to plan for Brentford if Brentford try it now, if they go 4-5-1 with Tony up there, or whoever it is.
I think I was looking earlier, in their last 5 games, they've played 3 at the back.
Okay.
So hopefully, if they do that, then we should be okay, I would imagine. But another sort of thing that was annoying me was the over-reliance on Saka and Martinelli playing 1v1, or sometimes 1v3. And I don't know if that's because our fullbacks don't overlap enough, or they're not confident to do it enough, or if that's just the tactical plan. But Saka was left against Onana, McNeil, and who's the left back? Mikalenko. And it's just impossible for him to get any space. And then we weren't moving the ball quick enough to the other side. And then Martinelli was getting the same sort of problem. What do you think that comes down to?
I think that probably does come down to the width. I think, as you say, outnumbering, you can't really do much. But there's been a couple of examples in other previous games where if Saka's been double teamed, he'll either have White or Odegaard or Partey to go to his left, and that opens up maybe a little bit of space to the right to maybe get someone down there. But it didn't seem like when we were going up 1v2, 3v2 there, we weren't really shifting the ball. And it seemed to be that the physical energy was really, it just was not there. And I wonder if that just comes down to having 2 away games in a row, going up to Manchester, come back, then go back to Merseyside, and then they're not quite there. I think Mikel won't change that system or style of play, or at least not anytime soon. And I think the other part of that is I wasn't a fan of Partey coming off on the 59th minute for Jorginho, but that was a very rare switch. It's not something that he's done before this season.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if he was still feeling his injury a little bit.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Maybe he was given 60 minutes, come off Jorginho. So
and then we conceded straight away.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate for Jorginho because I think in the emotion he got a bit scapegoated for that. But if that is a move that is going to be quite common, because the way Mikel Arteta talks about Jorginho, it seems like he's the guy that he's been after for a while, and now that
Yeah.
he's finally got his guy, I wonder if that's going to be a move that he's just always going to flip to if things aren't going well.
Yeah, Sammy showed me a formation or heat map from Saturday, and Martinelli was the furthest player on the left, and
Okay.
pretty much everyone was central with White, Odegaard, and Saka on the right. Martinelli was isolated a lot,
Yeah.
and I was trying to put my finger on why, and I've come to the conclusion when Jesus was in the team, and I know we keep going back to him, but he drifted either side and helped the winger interchange, and then Xhaka made the third party run
Mm.
into the box and took over the striker and the central area of the striker. When Eddie's in the team, he's a striker. He's a number
Yeah.
9. He's a box. He's a fox in the box. Do you think that's a big contributing factor?
It is, yeah. And Zinchenko looks like he's going in more into the middle. He was taking up positions against United in the second half. Zinchenko was going more to the right a little bit when Fred came on, just so they could match numbers there. And it seemed like Zinchenko was taking up similar sort of positions against Everton. I saw another podcast earlier where they said the same thing. Martinelli is, we're not getting the ball out to him. He seems to be by himself each and every time. And it was the same for Trossard a little bit. I caught up with the last 10 minutes earlier on, just before this. It seemed to be Trossard was not really even getting the ball, seeing the ball, and he was out there by himself. So, and you can't really get Zinchenko to overlap. I don't think it's his game. I think he would in the right times and the right scenarios because he did that a couple of times against United, especially for the winner. And maybe this could have been the game for Kieran Tierney. In another world, Tomiyasu and Tierney probably play in fullback in this game, and you probably get a better output in the wide areas.
Yeah.
And that way, Anana, Gay, and Decore, they're not suffocating us down the middle. But we've just got to get the ball out quicker to those players. And I'm not sure how Martinelli's feeling. It was really hard to judge how he was doing. I think he had a couple of nice touches in the game, but hopefully he can. I know there's a question mark around whether he'll start the next game, but I'm sure he will.
Yeah, I saw a suggestion the other day. It might have been yesterday actually, that you put Zinchenko into midfield instead of Xhaka. You play Tierney and Trossard. So then Trossard comes in to play that attacking area. Tierney goes on the overlap, and then you've got Zinchenko slotting in into the left back sort of inverted left back role, which he's really good at. Because then you don't really lose anything. It's kind of
No.
the same but different.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of looking at it, to be fair. And Arteta's been good at finding out things that he could improve on throughout the season, like playing Tomiyasu left back or getting the most out of Ben White. So if that's something on paper, it sounds pretty good, but I wonder if that's going to be his sort of train of thought. I know a manager like Arteta, he's probably got that Guardiola trait in him where it's got to be plan A, plan A, and plan A. And if plan A doesn't work, then you make plan A, I don't know, with more players or something. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Tierney and probably Tomiyasu play a little bit more. I think our fullbacks are suffering at the moment.
Yeah, they are.
I think a couple of our players actually are. The front three look absolutely knackered, especially Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie. Considering he hasn't played like a lot of games in the last sort of 2 years overall, but it could just be burnout from having to play in every single game, and he doesn't come off, does he? I don't think he's come off at all since he started.
I think he came off against United for the last couple minutes.
Yeah, and then even in that game, he's gone all the way to the end. Is Jesus on track for 25th of Feb? Is that kind of what we're aiming for?
He's back outside running now on the pitch, so I think he's probably about 10 to 14 days away from kicking a ball again. So
Yeah.
hopefully we could do
Yeah.
with him, because if he's on track, I think we've got Villa, Leicester away, and then we've got Everton, Leeds at home.
Yeah.
I think. No, I might be wrong, but I know it's 2 home games, and then the Europa League is back.
Yeah. It'll be a good run of games for Jesus to come back in, I think.
Yep. Well, we're swiftly moving on for the negative news. Some something has come out this week that has shaken all of world football. It's got everyone talking. Obviously, Manchester City have been charged with over 100 breaches of financial fair play by the Premier League. What's your thoughts on that?
Because it's unprecedented, none of us have any clue what is going to happen to City. And I think some of the things that are coming out today is it looks like the Premier League clubs are adding pressure onto whatever's been going on, and they want to see if things go down the guilty route, then they want to see the highest possible punishment. Because at the end of the day, they have, for all of the moments that they've had where Aguero scored the last kick, outscored Liverpool in those exciting title races, 99 points, 98 points, or wherever it was in that season. And then even last season with the last kick or the last 15 minutes from Gundogan. All those moments are sort of, if it's guilty, then those moments are kind of meaningless. And it would, if they go down the route of stripping away their titles, I don't think that would make sense to me. I think that would be really weird, and that would be really confusing for myself anyway, because it's not really as simple as handing it to the second place teams. Because if you were to play those seasons again, if you were going to go back in time and you excluded City, all of the results would be different anyway.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have the points they have with what they finished. They would have maybe -4 or +2 or +6 or whatever because of the whole factor of City. But yeah, it's not looking good for City, and secretly I pray for Chelsea to be next in the headlines. But yeah, it's not looking good for City, and I think the fans in the forums, they're pretty worried, and I think you can't really be surprised. Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised at all. I think everyone saw this coming. I saw Mark Goldbridge. I watched his video on them, and they rushed everything to become what they are.
Yeah.
And now they're having to prove how they've done it so quickly, and they can't, because it's all fake. It's all cooked. All their books are cooked. And as you said, I don't think stripping them of their titles make too much sense, because it's in the past. It's not going to affect them in the future. Whereas I personally, I think they need to be relegated. If it's proven true, I think they need to be relegated from the league. But Sky Keve today said that the sense is they're going to get a small point reduction.
Right.
But then I can't really see how that's fair. And I think the whole world are going to be watching, especially the leagues that are in a financial turmoil, the Serie A's, the La Ligas. They're going to be looking at it like, well, you need to take a stronger hand here.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Premier League are under pressure now with the choices that they make. If it goes to guilty, of course, do they go for the highest possible with a bit of, we'll take it slightly easy, so like point deduction, or do they go full relegation? Because they, like anything, will try to protect the brand that is the Premier League, right? They'll try and protect everything that the league is good for, the money that comes in. So it's not a good position to be in. Well, I guess they're the ones that have been investigating, but yeah, if it goes to guilty, we won't know for a couple of years. I imagine. I reckon it won't be a pretty. It won't be an overnight thing. Would you take a season where, if they were to deduct points now, would you take that as a scenario going into the title race, or would you rather go square to square or face to face with them to the end?
See, I'm of the opinion I'll take whatever I can get. Any titles that you can get. There's no guarantee that when they do get their point reduction, that United are going to be in transition, Liverpool are going to be this bad, Chelsea are going to be this bad. So then you're fighting for a title. So if they win it this year and it is proven they've cheated, I'd feel a lot worse
Yeah.
than if they just gave us the title for with a point reduction.
Hmm.
But it's a good debate. I've seen a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah, and I feel quite bad for Liverpool fans a little bit as well because,
I
and I
don't.
said this, yeah, of course I don't either, but in a sort of a purist way, and I said this I think last year to a couple of mates that Liverpool created their best Premier League team in a time where City were like peaking, and now it's turned out that they sort of doped their way, allegedly anyway, to the success.
Yeah.
Um, and it's probably going to be a while till Liverpool hit those heights again if they do. So they're sort of the timing for us is a lot better than it was for them.
Well, Sammy's just sent into the group chat a screenshot of a report saying Bellingham's hesitant to join them because they're in 10th.
Yeah,
So I can see that happening quite a bit if they don't make European football. But
yeah,
I I think I don't want to say it, but I do think City are guilty. You don't
yeah.
hire the best lawyers if you if you've got nothing to hide. Or
No,
because I saw a report earlier, they're got one of the best sporting lawyers in the whole world.
I'm
That's
sure they do.
on similar money to De Bruyne.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, his name's Lord Panic. Believe it or not.
Is it really?
Yeah, I saw the. I think it was from the Mail. So if you're not guilty, you don't hire someone like that. It's like power with Proctor.
Yeah. Even if is it Martin Ziegler, the guy who released all the news?
Yeah,
I think he said even if City are guilty of 50% of the charges, they'll still face a real serious punishment if it goes down that way. So they'll do very well to not get out of this jam. I wonder what the fans are thinking.
I would imagine it's a tough one, isn't it? Because they're like, well, we've had all this year's success. They've never really seen that before. Do they take it on the chin and be like, oh, we've got 6 Premier Leagues out of 10, sort of thing?
I hope Arteta's not on the firing line. I think if there's any sort of involvements
Yeah,
from external parties, there was a potential informer, right, from the previous regime. So hopefully Arteta's sort of clean and he's just focused on his football and his coaching. So hopefully he's all right.
yeah, because this could have potential like ramifications for the rest of the league. Because then suddenly City have been investigated. As you said, it could be Chelsea next. Then Newcastle, obviously, they've just been taken over. So it's going to affect, I think it's going to affect the league quite big.
Yeah, and it's coming down to this regulator thing, isn't it? That they're introducing next
Yeah,
year.
they've postponed it, haven't they? The white paper thing.
Yeah, yeah. All the other clubs are going to have to be careful of how they run. I imagine Bowley and his team, and they're burning up documents as we speak, so it doesn't come to them.
They probably found
Uh,
another loophole.
yeah, yeah, and I think it's Wenger said it himself. I think there's a clip that's just come out on the timelines where he's always said that we need to try and protect the league and keep out any unfair advantages that these clubs are going to try. So I think from what the sounds of it, or at least from the outside looking in, Newcastle, they're sort of running a fair game. They're kind of, they get Eddie Howe in when they could have got in another higher tier coach if they wanted to. They brought in Byrne. Is it Byrne from Brighton?
Yeah, Dan Burn, yeah.
Dan Byrne. So they're sort of making these sort of moves just to sort of close the gap in a really slow pace. So let's see.
Yeah,
Let's see how all these clubs go forward.
it's fairly sensible the way they've done it. And I do think this is going to have big effects on the transfer window. Because if you're a player and you see that your potential new team are under investigation for fraud, crimes, all the rest of it, concealment, do you really want to go and play for them?
Yeah, yeah. I think a player's going to think twice now, and it also it sort of debunks the whole sort of best in class and recruitment best in class and everything that City was sort of labelled for. How Gary Neville used to label them best in class and everything. But if it goes down the guilty route, which it kind of is leaning towards, it's not really best in class, is it? If you're super juicing your way to it. And there was another point I was going to make, but I can't remember what it is. I'll come back to it. Oh, that's it. Do you reckon Pep Guardiola walks away from all of this?
I think so. Okay, he did say, was it when UEFA had them bang to rights, and only the time bar stopped them from being, what was it, a child like found guilty of juicing their FFP in Europe as well. And he said that I'm no longer your friend if you've lied to me.
Yeah.
So I think he could potentially leave, walk away, because it was Mancini was the manager that received double payment, wasn't it?
Oh, I think that's what the rumours are. Is that what the rumours are that they've said already?
Yeah, because is it the German paper Der Spiegel?
Yeah.
They leaked it in 2018, and they said Mancini received payments from an Abu Dhabi football club
Right.
for a coach in 4 days a year.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah. The time scale makes sense, I think, then. If it's from the day that they hired him and everything, then 10 seasons worth of it, man. That's a long time to get done for.
Yeah, it's it's going to be an interesting few months, years to come. See how the Premier League approach the rest of it, and the commission as well, because they can't appeal it to CAS. There's no
Yeah.
they're under the Premier League rules. They're not allowed to appeal it to them, but they can appeal it to another committee.
Hmm.
So any legal route they can take, they're probably going to.
Yeah, I think you have to assume that they're going to try delay it. They'll do every trick in the book. They'll delay it. They'll stall for time. I don't know. They'll probably confuse everyone with jargon. I don't know what they're going to do. If you've ever watched Suits, that's kind of my own learning from it.
I don't think they'll be able to pay their way out of this one,
No,
which is I'm kind of glad.
no.
Right, moving on. We do have a game at the weekend. We are at home to Brentford on Saturday at 3 p.m. How are you feeling about that game?
Oh man, I think we need this game to come quick. Yeah, we need this to come quick because I think we need to. What I think has happened in the last 2 weeks is the FA Cup going out of that. It's kind of from the outside as fans, we're sort of saying win-win because it's sort of a one less competition. We focus on the league, one extra game for City, but the players that played that game when they go into the dressing room, they're sort of thinking, "Oh, we played quite well. We could have had them." And then we go into the Everton game a little bit flat. We lost. They're going into the dressing room and they've got nothing to celebrate again for the second week, or if it's in the same week, I think. So that sort of good feeling where the guys going in pumped and on adrenaline and everything of getting one over whoever they played, that's kind of that's sort of gone for the moment. So if we have been as serious and we've taken it as serious as we have done in training throughout the week, and we go into that game with a clean slate and leg sharp, mind sharp, and that sort of thing, and we get the win, we can rebuild the momentum. And I think the City dropping points against Spurs, that would have given us a bit of a last minute sort of care package, a bit of a lift for the club. I'm
Yeah,
sure Arteta was watching the game himself. He's probably quite, he's probably thinking, kind of needed this. But
yeah, it's a let off.
yeah, it is big time. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think we'll go into it in the same way that we have done. It'll be interesting to see what sort of state Brentford are in and if they try to apply the same sort of tricks that Everton have, because now Everton will have laid down a bit of a blueprint for all these other clubs. But we've got, everyone's pretty much fit. Hopefully, Partey's all right if he's not struggling with all with his rib cages. Yeah, no, pretty good.
Yeah, likewise. I've been doing a little bit of research into this game when you mentioned about doing the pod, and I looked at Brentford and their formations and the way they've played recently, because they beat Liverpool 3-1 at home. So I watched that game back, and I noticed their right back is he can get got at quite easily, because Embuemo usually plays on the right with Tony through the middle.
Mm.
So if we can get one of our wingers on him straight away, get the ball out quick enough, and I think Saka could have Rico Henry too. So get the ball wide quicker. I think that would be our joy down the wings. As as I mentioned earlier about heavy reliance on them.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a copy and paste with the system and the players. I'd be surprised if anyone gets dropped for this game. I reckon it'll be the same team. I think.
I think White might get
Yeah,
dropped. He struggled last few games
yeah, he has. He hasn't looked great. He hasn't been himself, and I wonder if.
because he got subbed at half time against United because he got yellow carded early, didn't he?
Yeah,
And he weren't very good against who did we play before that? Was it Newcastle? I know he was all right against Spurs,
yeah,
but against Newcastle he was quite flat as well.
yeah. And Tommy's looking pretty good. Anytime he's come on, he seems like he's looking sharp again because it took him a while to get going after his
Yeah,
niggles this season. But I wouldn't, even if Tommy Yossi started, I'd be all right with it. I wouldn't have any issues with that.
because I was contemplating: do you make changes with City coming up? But then, do you really want to rock the boat too much?
For me, you kind of go with the team that you want to play against City. I guess. I think
Keep them warm.
keep them warm. Yeah, I think so because I think rhythm has been a bit of a theme for us this season. Like you can kind of see it with Martinelli. You know, he's kind of lost his rhythm because the World Cup stopped everything that he was doing really well in, and he's sort of trying to find his feet again. It took Saliba a couple of games to get back into it, but he's looking all right now, barring Everton. But then Eddie Nketiah, he's found form because he's playing games. So I think there's like a trend of rhythm that we found throughout the season. So I'd go with the team that Mikel wants to play against City and then hope for no injuries after Brentford.
Yeah, that's another big one, isn't it? Injuries. Can't really afford many. With City though, I can't help but not want to play Partey on Saturday. He's going to be so big in that midfield against City. I just, can you really trust Jorginho on the counter?
Yeah, yeah, and if Partey, I wouldn't even. Yeah, he's going to be absolutely vital. He's been vital to everything that we've done this season, and start against Brentford, protect him if we're winning. If we're not winning, then I don't know what we do. But he's going to be one of the players that I'd want to protect for the City game. I kind of wish Jesus was around because that would have been a really nice sort of story for Jesus against his old team and everything. But we've got what we've got.
I mean, the story of him going back to the Etihad and winning us the league is probably a little bit better.
Yeah, it is. It's a tiny bit better, isn't it? When is that game?
I think it's towards the end of April.
Okay. Yeah.
So it could be a title decider that game.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you see Jesus taking his place back once he's sort of fully fit?
Oh, see, I would feel bad on Eddie, but what Jesus brings, he doesn't. The
Yeah.
energy wise, like when he's on the pitch and you feel it in the stadium that he's on the pitch.
Yeah.
You just don't know. He's unpredictable, and I don't think Eddie brings that.
No, but he's been the league's best second striker, and I mean that in a good way. He's good enough to be a starting striker for a lot of teams in the league. But I think Jesus, he's got that sort of X factor, isn't he? So I think eventually he'll regain his spot, and it'll just be it'll probably be in a game where we're rotating, and then Jesus is suddenly starting, and he just keeps his spot. Like it won't be because Eddie's dropped. It'll be more like a rotational game where Jesus comes in, and then he just keeps his spot from then on. But he's going to be absolutely vital to us for the rest of the season.
I think the next two games, the big advantage we have is the home crowd.
Yeah.
The way the crowd has been this season, especially against United, I've never seen anything like it. I think I mentioned it in our group chat when the VAR came up and it was confirmed as a goal. the
Yeah.
stadium just moved. It just shook with noise.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and I think for the last 5 or so minutes of that game, the ball was just being pulled by the fans, urging it to go in. And I think against City it's going to be similar, and I hope it's like that against Brentford, because the way Brentford play with the energy, that could be sapping for the crowd. If they come out hot against us, the crowd are going to need to be up for it for the boys in particular.
So if we're playing Brentford, who are City playing?
They've got Villa on Sunday at the Etihad, I believe.
Okay. Oh, yeah, of course they do, yeah. You could assume that they'll probably win their game, I think.
Yeah. I was actually saying to one of the boys at work, City have got us away, Forest away, and Leipzig away
In a row?
in a row
Oh, wow.
within 7 days.
Oh, wow. That's going
So,
to take a toll.
so does Pep be Pep and rest like he did against Tottenham against us, and play them against Leipzig? Played all the big boys against them because it's the only trophy he doesn't have for City.
Yeah, and it's the only one he really cares about, isn't it?
Yeah.
I sort of feel like he doesn't really care about the league. Like it wouldn't bother him if he didn't win it for 1 year. And I think he'd be pretty happy for Arteta. I think they're best friends off the pitch. I think everyone knows that. Um, it depends how much he cares about trying to get one over us and clawing back in the league. But he's not going to be in a good position to decide.
Because I can see him being him and dropping Haaland for Alvarez.
Yeah.
I know we've set up to play Haaland all week, and then see the team are playing Alvarez and Grealish instead of Foden and Haaland.
Haaland would be pretty easy to mark. I think you can tell with Haaland, he doesn't have. If the ball's not coming to him and there's no sort of space in behind, he'll just kind of wait and time his movements. And in the FA Cup game when Saliba came on, the two of them marshaled him really well. Rob Holding did as well later on in the first half, and I think those two got a good taste of Haaland and sort of his mannerisms. So they'll have
Yeah.
an early sort of like tease into what Haaland could be like, how physical he is, how he moves. Yeah, I can kind of see that actually. I can see Haaland getting dropped, and it's sort of Alvarez and Mahrez, and maybe I don't know if Grealish starts again. Yeah,
Yeah, because I think opening the gap, if we win on Saturday, it puts all the pressure back on them, and then they've got to come to us. So
yeah,
like the if they don't win against Villa, the pressure is mounting massively on them to get a result against us, and we've seen them crumble when the pressure's on.
yeah, yeah, and it'll be a huge statement for us, and the crowd will be really up for it against City. They really will be up for it.
And I think I got an email saying that they're doing to buy one get one free beers before the game for half an hour. So the crowd are definitely going to be up for it.
Yeah, there's definitely a strategy to that. Even the game last season when we played against them, that was one of the best performances of the season. Especially in Arteta's reign, that was one of the best performances, and we were just unlucky. It came down to a fumble in the box, and it just fell to Rodri. So there'll be some history going into this game, like with that game as well. But I'm excited. I'm more excited than I was before the FA Cup game, because then with our B team again against them in the FA Cup, we kind of was like, it's not really that nothing to worry about, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I'm going to honour Raf now and say that we're in the extra time of the pod. Predictions for the Brentford game. What are you going with?
Brentford. We haven't kept many clean sheets, so I always think we're going to concede one. But I'll probably go for do you know what? I'll go for a nervy 2-1 win, I think. Yeah,
I'm
2-1.
I'm going to stick my neck out there and say 3-0.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm going to go 3-0.
Yeah.
So is there any other business that I've missed? Anything happening in the news?
I think a shout out to the academy players, because they had a pretty good game yesterday, and it looks like Miles Lewis Skelly, and Cozy Dewberry, they're getting a lot of love on their timelines today. So just seeing them come through and doing well. Cozy Dewberry just looks like Saka 2.0 with the way he's playing. And Lewis Skelly, is he a left 8, Lewis Skelly?
I don't know. He kind of looked like a 6 in the video that I saw,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah. So we've got a lot to be excited about in the academy.
We saw the news about Nwaneri potentially leaving for City or Chelsea.
Yeah.
A bit disappointing when I saw that.
Yeah, that would be a shame, really, because it kind of makes sense now why Arteta might have brought him on against Brentford, just to sort of be like, this could be you, like eventually, if Chelsea and
Because
City have been,
he was on the bench last night for the under-18s,
yeah,
which is
so,
surprising. Maybe that's Wilshire's way of saying that you need to stay here, kind of thing.
yeah, it'll be a shame if he goes.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Well, thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure. Everyone at home, everyone watching, like and subscribe. We'll be back next week. Have a good evening.
Otherwise.